Hey, what's up everyone? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we're looking at the D-Art Mega Man X figure. This is the re-release. I can only assume that it's the same as the original release because I never bought it, unfortunately. I missed out on that one, but I have this one, so I'm going to review it for you. It's easily one of my favorite Mega Man figures, if not the favorite, or my favorite. I've always had a particular fondness for this design, and now I'm very happy to have it. He stands with his legs almost straight, just over 5 inches tall, just over. If I straighten him out a little bit more, you can see he's got a little bit of a sway to his back, and his knees aren't completely straight. If I straighten him out just a little bit more, I assume he'd be close to 5¼ inches, but either way, he's right around that height measurement. And like I said, it's a good design, I think, for the figure, or for the character, and the figure is easily just as good as the design is. So I'm very happy. All the dark blue parts have a nice metallic finish. It's like a flat metallic almost. It's molded plastic as far as I can tell. I didn't scratch any of it to check, of course, but it looks to me like all the dark blue parts are molded in that color. And it's just really nice to have that just barely metallic finish to it. These light blue parts, I believe, are molded in those colors. They're not metallic. The light blue on the helmet is painted, and it is metallic. The paint job could be a little bit better. On some of them, it's a little bit spotty. If you look really close, you can see how it's not as clean of a job as it could be. But of course, the naked eye is not going to notice those tiny imperfections too much, except for the ones right around the gem on the helmet. At that top part where there's kind of a ridge there, it's pretty obvious that the paint could be better, but it's not bad enough to worry about at all. And that is a gem, so that's cool. The earpieces have the gems in them as well, and so does the blaster. So that's a nice touch. If you want to use a blast effect, you can pull that off. The gem came out. That's not supposed to happen, but that's okay. It'll pop right back in because it's just a little pop-in piece. But now the funny thing is I have 2 of the open ones, so that's okay. I'll just glue the gem back in and we're good to go. But that shows you it's the same exact part, just without the gem. So we'll put that on. It goes like that, I believe, and that'll let us do the blasts when we need to do that in a few minutes. Or right now, let's talk accessories. He's got the one head. The helmet separates at that seam right there around the ear cup, and then you can pull the face off. Pull the helmet off forward, the face comes out of the helmet. You have 2 alternate faces, so that's just the standard face right there. Then we also have the yelling face, and we have the grimacing face. Both look very nice. The detail in the paintwork is done really well. The eyes are nice. Everything's nice and clean on this figure, so that's pretty cool. I guess I can go ahead and show you one of the other faces if I can get this out really quickly. Hopefully. Come on. You kind of have to stick your fingernail in there to split the seam and separate the helmet, and then you can just pop it apart. That'll give us a look at the neck joint. While we're here, I might as well show you. The neck joint up here is a ball hinge, so it swivels on the top part and the bottom part, and it's hinged there. And this is just an old school ball peg for the neck. Back to the face. So the face itself pegs into the helmet, so we'll just take that off and put on, I like the grimacing face, so we're going to do that. So that just goes in here. It fits right in. Can't really screw that up, and then this all pegs back into here like that. So now we have the grimacing face, which I do like a lot. He's got a little dingleberry on his chin, but we'll get that with an X-Acto knife later. So there's that. Those are the 3 faces he has. You already saw the interchangeable blaster tips. Each arm has an alternate piece so that you can put the blaster on either side. So this is the hand arm piece, I don't know what to call that, gauntlet, that would replace the blaster, and then the blaster can go over there. I think it can. It should be able to go on either side. It's unidirectional. And then for hands, you have a fist for either side. They just peg in their standard ball hinge or ball pegs. Actually, it's a double ball peg. I'm sorry. It's a double ball peg for the hand and the wrist. Then you also have an open hand for either side. A nice flat white, pretty good sculpt. These are hands that we've seen before, so nothing too new with this figure. Probably because he's the first one to ever have them, so they reused them. And then lastly, we have a couple of blast effects. First one, we've seen this one before. It's translucent yellow. It's posable, so however you want to do that. This is reminiscent of the video game in particular. I think so anyway. I mean, this is kind of the more iconic blast. And this piece comes off if you want it to change the effect, but otherwise, you can just leave it on there. It doesn't peg on as well as I would have liked. Focus camera. But some of them are a little more loose than others, but that does go there. And then you can just put it on his blaster. Just pegs right in. Pretty cool blast effect. The only problem is, okay, never mind. Yeah, if you push it in far enough, you won't have too much trouble with it. This one's not too heavy. You won't have too much trouble with him posing with it. He doesn't come with any stands, but if you get one of the D-Arts or SH Figure Arts stands, you'll be just fine. So there's the yellow blast effect. And they do come apart, just like the ones we've seen before. So what you can do with this blast effect, in that it is interchangeable, is that you can pull this piece out back here, separate that, separate this, put this one in here, and it just changes the shape of the blast effect. So if that helps the way you're posing him, you can do that. And this one is keyholed so that you can put it in the right way and it'll actually snap in, not snap in, but it's a pressure fit if you can line it up, and that'll stay together nicely. So you can just rearrange how you want that blast effect, and that also adds to the playability of the figure, which is always good. You have this cool green blast effect, translucent green, and it's the bigger blast effect. It pegs in just the same. This time this comes off, so just the same again. You can see there's like a keyhole shape in there, so you can put it on in the right direction, and you can do it either way, just like this. Peg it in there. Let's see how heavy it is. Not too heavy for his arm, so that's a big bonus. That's awesome. It is heavy though, so if you don't balance the figure right, he'll topple over, but it's not too heavy for the arm joint, so that's really good. And again, this comes off, so if you want to do it that way, you can do it that way too. Very nice. So those are all of the accessories. Pretty good spread of accessories. Nothing too fancy, but it's only a $40 figure, so I'm okay with it. Let's talk about articulation. The head we already covered, the neck we covered. The shoulders have an old school ball joint in the torso, so that moves around on a ball joint. Then the shoulder itself is a ball hinge, so you can bring the arm up. And in conjunction with the ball joint, you have all kinds of range of motion. Everything you need to do, you'll be able to do. The shoulder pad is hinged just a little bit. It's really just snapped onto the ball hinge for the shoulder. So the pad itself is a little bit posable, but it's pretty much just to allow the shoulder to do what it needs to do. There's a bicep swivel up there at that silver ring, so that lets that happen. Be very careful with this guy. The ball hinges and the bicep swivel are very tight right out of the package, so do be careful with that. The elbow has a weird kind of designed hinge, but it just works like a standard hinge. It gives you better than 90 degrees though, so that's cool. And it has this little floating dark gray piece, which is just meant to hide the joint. And it does a pretty good job of that, so that's pretty good. As I was talking earlier, the lower arms are interchangeable, and I still don't really care for the design. This lets you see the hinge. It's like a double hinge that gives you really good range of motion, but it is not the best as far as the interchangeability goes. I really don't care for this design too much. It works, it gets the job done, but it's very hard to think that it's going to be very durable. Look how thin that little piece is right there. I wouldn't mess with it too much personally, but that's up to you. And most of them peg in pretty well. Some of them are a little bit more loose, but you shouldn't have too much trouble. I don't think that's a common problem. And then, like I said, the hands are just on a double ball peg, so that moves around inside the gauntlet, and the hand can move around on top of that peg. So plenty range of motion for the hand, even though it is somewhat limited by the gauntlet itself. You have enough posability there, I think, to do whatever posing you want to do. The upper torso is on a double ball peg. It can spin around, spin like a swivel, lean forward, backward, side to side, anything you want to do there. Same thing for the lower torso. It has the swivel. It might be a single ball peg for the bottom half, I'm not sure, but either way, you have the posability that you're gonna need, and it looks good. There's really no problems with the posability on this guy, so I am fine with that. The hips have, it's a kind of a weird joint, so I don't really know how to describe it, but it has full range of motion and has these little cup things on there to hide the joint. You can get the legs forward pretty far. Like I said, it's a weird joint, so I don't really know how to describe it, but you can get decent range of motion out of it. Not a huge range side to side, but enough. And if you rotate it, you can get the leg out pretty far. So that's not too bad, I don't think. And it doesn't look bad really from any angle. So that's one of the things D-Arts has done really well with the Mega Man figures. The knees are the same as the elbows. It has a big cup to hide the joint, but that tends to fall down into the boot if you go too far. But as you can see, the range of motion is really good. Technically you have the same range of motion for the elbow, but the gauntlet gets in the way. And technically these parts are interchangeable with the Mega Man X with the armor, and I assume they'll be interchangeable with the Ultimate Armor when he comes out, and it is also interchangeable with Zero. So that's pretty cool if you want to do that. If not, then just leave the legs put together and you'll be just fine. The ankles have another kind of weird joint. It's a ball hinge in the foot, so that swivels at the base of the ball hinge, and it has the hinge, of course, and then the ball hinge is connected to a ball peg similar to the shoulder, so that moves around separately, and it pops off if you want it to, or if you don't sometimes, but that gives you a good idea. It's like a double ball hinge with ball pegs stuck to that, so pretty good range of motion there. And these are interchangeable as well, technically. And you can see they peg into the front rather than the bottom to help with the range of motion. That's going to be tricky to put back on, so I'll do that off camera. But you can see here that the feet are sculpted on the bottom and they have a gem. So really nice looking figure all the way around. I really can't complain about too much on this guy. I'm super happy to have it. I highly recommend it, and I think it's a great figure. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more figure reviews, more custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.